It's time now for a look at the latest in local news. In the news, the Wayne County Board of Education met Tuesday afternoon in a work session and COVID-19 update on the agenda. Wayne County school system closed today as there's no school on Wednesday with the hybrid schedule, and that's the schedule that Dr. Kelly asked the board last night to continue. As Kelly says, that's the feedback he's getting from the teachers and the students. Kelly asked that they maintain the hybrid schedule until at least to the end of next week. Here was Dr. Kelly at Tuesday's board meeting.
Currently, what I'm hearing from our teachers and from some of our administrators is that the hybrid model is something that they would like to continue at least for a little while. The diminished number of kids in the classes and in the schools allow for social distancing, allow for us not to have as many kids on the bus, allow for social distancing in lunchroom and during transition, whatever that looks like in the various level or grade band. I would probably recommend, if you're looking for a recommendation for additional mitigation strategies, is that we could place something on the chart that if our numbers begin to approach 3 to 3.9%, then we would ask or either require masking for everyone inside the building. I do not wish to put masking required when we're in hybrid, because even though we're in the hybrid model right now to provide some consistency and some social distancing, I think our numbers are low enough to not require a mask mandate, but it just depends on the language that the board desires to put on the chart.
The discussion continued, and board member Sharon Daniels says she's heard from teachers that are concerned that they're in the classroom for 45 to 90 minutes. They would like to see masks required. She stated Tuesday the board and school system should be proactive, not reactive, and she believes masks should be required when inside certain areas. But board members Joe McPipkin and Ray Davidson disagreed. Definitely not for mask mandates at this time. Here is board member Ray Davidson on the issue.
I'm going to agree with Joe Mack. At this present time, I would not be in favor of a mask mandate. I think we, as a board, we need to follow the data. And when the data says that in order to keep our schools in session that we need to wear masks, I think that's when that decision needs to be made. Again, I'm hesitant to usurp the authority of parents. A lot of parents say, who are we to say that my kid has to wear a mask? I understand there's mixed reviews on the effectiveness of masks. So at this time, I would like to let's stay status quo. Let's monitor the situation. Let's take into account the data as it comes in, and if the data warrants a mask mandate, certainly at that point, I think we could discuss it, and if need to, we can move in that direction.
Again, this discussion was the longest discussion of the work session. They had Nurse Carla Armstrong on hand to outline the CDC requirements, and the CDC requires that masks be worn, or recommends that masks be worn. What the board did do and voted on yesterday was to allow the superintendent to have the authority, if the numbers go up to a certain percentage, and it reaches a certain level, that he can impose that masks be worn without having a called board meeting. The superintendent was asked by the board if he would be comfortable with that decision. He told them he was. So again, Wayne County on the hybrid for the remainder of this week and all next week, then they'll follow the data and make decisions accordingly. Again, if the numbers increase where the superintendent thinks that masks should be worn, he has the authority to impose the mask mandate. We'll be back with more from the school board meeting after this word from our sponsors, other commercial messages, so please stay tuned. In other news, we have more from the school board meeting. Again, a work session yesterday afternoon. The school system currently has some major projects underway, both the track and the construction of James E. Baking taking place. Here was the update on both those projects from School Superintendent Dr. Kelly.
Our projects, the track, all of the storm water piping is complete. The field lights and poles have been set. All underground electrical piping is being installed this week. The new 6-inch water well installation is underway and making good progress. The topsoil is being delivered this week so that final grading can take place. The track curb and paving will start within a week and should be complete within the next 30 days. Current completion date is tracking for late November with regard to the track. James E. Bacon, interior demolition in the pre-K building and the annex is complete. New mechanical, plumbing, electrical, and fire sprinkler overhead rough end for the pre-K and the annex is nearing completion. Footings and foundation, those are the things you see outside. Block for the main addition and new gym connector are well underway and should be 100% complete within the next 2 weeks. As the foundations are nearing completion, underground plumbing and electrical rough end will begin to take place within the next week. And as soon as that takes place, we'll be able to start. They'll be able to start. Not we. I don't do that. They'll be able to start pouring some slabs and should start seeing some walls going vertical by this time next month. So that.
And again, those comments of Dr. Kelly. Also on hand at the meeting was Scriven Mayor Jason Weaver about an electronic sign that sits behind City Hall. It's in plain view of traffic. It was a joint project between the school system and the city of Scriven. As most schools have those electronic signs in front that give out messages, Scriven School opted to locate theirs where everyone could view the sign and read the messages. Well, the problem is the sign is no longer working, and it's going to take funds to repair. Jason Weaver wasn't the mayor at the time of the agreement, nor was most of the board members at that time, or Superintendent Kelly. Not in office when the deal was reached. Apparently, a handshake agreement took place, nothing in writing. Here was part of that discussion at the meeting last night.
No, you're not going to fix it.
Okay.
So
This is the first time that you came before this board
that is correct.
to talk. So
That's
we
correct.
can have a conversation about it. What one superintendent and what one principal and what former board members and current board members, you making a presentation to us, so we'll have an opportunity to speak about that, Mayor.
Mr. Ellis, with all due respect, your current superintendent told me you're not fixing it.
No, the current superintendent told you that we are not interested in the sign. That is what the current superintendent said.
Thanks.
Well, I just wanted to clarify that the citizens can't be mad at the people who didn't have a responsibility of maintaining or putting it.
I understand, but they want the sign running, naturally. And
You're making a presentation to the board, so the board can make a decision as to what they want to do.
perfect. You want me to just go to the next?
Chairman Nick Ellis says that the sign was originally purchased with PTO money, that the board never approved the project or put any funding into the project, and has nothing to do with it. The issue not finalized as Bruce Harris, District 2 rep, not on hand. Again, he's with his daughter, who's currently in Memorial Hospital in Savannah fighting COVID. No final decision on the sign was made. Jason Weaver told him that the school system's maintenance department is the one that erected the sign, so they do have some money into the sign. Again, it seems that the board and the superintendent are really not interested in the sign at this time, but again, no final decision on the sign has been reached. Personnel always on the agenda Tuesday. Certified recommendation, Andrea Leak, Arthur Ross Smith Elementary. Certified resignations, Wade Peterson, Arthur Waynes Middle School. Sharon Tootle, Wayne County High School. Classified recommendation, Garrett Mosley, Wayne County High School Technology. That's a look at your school board work session. We've got a final news note after this word from our sponsor of the commercial messages, so please stay tuned. Finally in the news, as coronavirus cases have skyrocketed in recent weeks in the state of Georgia, there's one age group that state health officials said yesterday stands out for getting sick and spreading the virus, and that is school children. At a Georgia Health Department board meeting on Tuesday, the state spokesman, Dr. Sherry Drenzick, says that about 60% of all COVID outbreaks in the state of Georgia are now taking place in K-12 schools, with more than 100 school outbreaks thus far. Compared to previous surges of the pandemic, cases among school-age children have increased sevenfold, as she updated the board on hospitalizations, deaths, and overall trend line of the pandemic. She said, quote, "There's been a tremendous impact on school-age children over the past 6 weeks. Severe illness from COVID is still uncommon in children. However, enough kids have become affected that pediatric hospitals have been filling up in the state. Federal health data shows 381 Georgians under the age of 18 have been hospitalized for COVID-19 in the past 7 days. That is more than double the admissions from the same period a month earlier, and nearly 15 times the number hospitalized in the week after the July 4th holiday. 4 children have died in August after contracting the coronavirus. That was more than any other month in the state of Georgia during the pandemic." As of Tuesday, state hospitals were caring for 5,400 COVID-19 patients. That's down from the 6,000 reached 2 weeks ago. However, hospitals across the state, including Wayne Memorial here in Jesup, are overwhelmed by the demands for care, and intensive care units across the state continue to be packed with ill patients. Children under 12 are not yet available for a COVID-19 vaccine, but the presentation Tuesday, the doctor pointed out that most hospitalized children are between the ages of 5 and 17, and many of those, she says, were able to be vaccinated, and therefore hospitalizations potentially could have been prevented. That's going to do it for the latest in local news. Sports comes your way in a few minutes. Paul Morgan saying have a great day.